do We Kindle the Lights. I'm hoping it's in there. We're going to do We Kindle, and then we're going to do Light the Candles. These are Hanukkah songs I want us to know. Let's get her. I don't know. Ready? We kindle the lights to remember the miracles of long, long ago. The battles fought, the victories won, the enemies we've overcome by your mighty hand. We kindle so I think I sped it up, and I'm not sure why. I'm sorry. Doesn't usually make you that dizzy, is that it?
And I can usually, okay, the next step is, and I can do it. This was like, no, go fast, go. I'm on speed.
Those were a couple songs God gave me a couple years ago that were, I was looking for Hanukkah music, and I kept finding all this music that was secular. And yes, I found one that was a religious piece, and that's Ma'azur, and it's a nice, good old hymn.
You can do the Miracle one by Mariana.
Yeah, I didn't have the music, and I don't have the music. And that's part of it, is being able to access the music, access it legally, be able to print the words with copyright permission so that you guys can all sing too. And a lot of the Messianic music is not on CCLI. It's not in our licensing.
Yeah.
So I have to be very careful about that, and that's part of it. It's having the license for it. But he showed me this whole thing about, Yeshua is the light of the world, and sometimes when you don't have what you want, he gives it to you in a different way. And so he gave me those songs, and I've enjoyed them. I don't know about you, but I enjoy them. I think they're good songs.
We did that one, Light Your Candle.
Yeah, that's not on CCLI. No, that's not a Christian song. So it's, exactly. And see, that's part of it. There's a lot of secular music, but it's not where we can access it legally. We can perform it, but I can't put the words up for you.
So we performed at a big, huge bunch of congregations got together and they did that one.
See, here's the thing with licensing. As long as we're in a worship service, we're okay. It's a part of worship to sing it. And churches are given that leeway as long as it's a worship service. But as soon as it's no longer a worship service, you have to have a license. Which is another reason we can't make copies of the DVDs for the dance performance. But if you guys want to watch one, I can loan one to you. We just can't distribute them. Let's do Light of the World. You step down into darkness because he is the light of the world.
See
We think they're way too close.
Mika Mocha. I think it's listed under Mika Mocha, Mikamocha. So Orlean is learning a new system for her, right? There is no one like you, Lord our God, King of the universe. There is no one like you, HaMashiach, Messiah, Yeshua, the one who is our Savior. There is no one like you. We honor you, we praise your name, we glorify you for all you are, for all you have done, and for all that you will do. And it is in your name, because you have called us to this place, that we pray. Amen. Amen. Stand for the shofar and the Shema. Janie, would you be okay blowing the shofar today?
Yeah.
Okay. In the small blue and white programs that are in the pews is the Shema and the pattern for today's service. Before Jeannie blows, we need to do the blessing over the shofar. Moshe, would you do that, please?
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lishmoa kol shofar. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who sanctifies us according to his commandments, who gives us a command concerning the hearing the voice, the shofar. Face the east. Close your Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod, Malkuto, Le'olam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, ve'kol levavecha, ve'kol nafshecha, ve'kol me'odecha. Ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anoki matzaka hayom, al levavecha. Ve'shinnatam levanecha v'dibarta bam, ve'shivtaka v'viteka u'v'lekteka v'adelek u'kshopeka v'kumeka u'kshartan le'ot al yedeka. Ve'hayu le'tafot be'nanecha u'taftan al mezuzot be'teka u'v'isharecha. HAFTARAH kamoka. Hear, Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. Blessed be the name of his glorious kingdom forever and ever. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And these words that I command you today shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently to your children. And you shall speak of them when you sit at home, and when you walk along the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be for frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. And you shall love your neighbor as yourself.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hiyot l'goyim v'natan lanu Yeshua HaMashiach or ha'olam. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who sanctifies us with your commandments, and has commanded us to be a light unto the nations, and has given us Yeshua, Messiah, the light of the world. And Father, I thank you that the light of the world has come. I thank you that in this season, as we prepare to celebrate the kindling of the lights, as we prepare to celebrate the consecration of your house, as we prepare to celebrate this, I ask that you would be the light for us, that we would see you in all of it, that we would recognize the glory that you have given us, because the Father gave glory to you, Yeshua. And I thank you for that. And I know there are others that could not be here for other reasons, and I ask, Lord, for those that are not feeling well, that you would bring health, that you would bring strength. Father, for those who had to be elsewhere because of other commitments, I ask again for strength and for peace in their hearts. And I thank you. Listen to your children pray. Lord, send your spirit in this place. Toldot Family. Come, Holy Spirit. So, Lord, come, Lord Jesus. All of creation. All of creation, all of the earth, make straight a highway, a path for the Lord. Yeshua is coming. Yeshua is coming soon. Call back the sinner, wake up the saint. Let every nation shout of your fame. Yeshua is coming soon. Like a bride waiting for her groom, will be a church ready for you. Every heart longing for her King. We sing, even so come, Yeshua come. Even so come, Yeshua come. All of creation. All of creation, all of the earth, make straight a highway, a path for the Lord. Yeshua is coming soon. Call back the sinner, wake up the saint. Let every nation shout of your fame. Yeshua is coming soon. Like a bride waiting for her groom, will be a church ready for you. Every heart longing for our King. We sing, even so come, Yeshua come. Even so come, Yeshua come. There will be justice. There will be justice. All will be new. Your name forever, faithful and true. Yeshua is coming soon. There will be justice. There will be justice. All will be new. Your name forever, faithful and true. Yeshua is coming soon. Like a bride. Like a bride waiting for her wander, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart. Take and seal it for the courts above. Prone to wander. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart. Take and seal it for my courts above. Here's my heart. Take and seal it for thy courts above. Father, I thank you that through the Holy Spirit, through the gift of your Spirit, you seal us. You seal us for your courts. You seal us for that day when you are returning. And I thank you. Father, guide us and guard us as we continue, as we hear your word, that we might hear what you have to say in each part. In the name of Yeshua. Today's Torah portion is called Toldot. It's a plural word. The OT at the end tells us that. Toldot, it means generations or family history. It's the sixth reading from the book of Genesis. And it begins with, now these are the records of the generations of Isaac. It tells us the story of Jacob and Esau and their struggles. Let's hear the word of the Lord today.
Stand as we bless the Lord before the reading of the Torah on page 30 in the yellow Sidurs. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher barak banu mikol hanonim v'natnu lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has chosen us from among all the peoples and given us his Torah. Blessed are you, Lord, giver of the Torah. Amen. Yamo, Janie bar Abraham la Torah. Come forward, Janie, daughter of Abraham, to the Torah. Our reading is in Bereshit, Genesis chapter 25, starting in verse 19.
This is the account of Abraham's son Isaac. Abraham became the father of Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel the Aramean from Paddan Aram, and sister of Laban the Aramean. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was barren. The Lord answered his prayer, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. The babies jostled each other within her, and she said, "Why is this happening to me?" So she went to inquire of the Lord. The Lord said to her, "Two nations are in your womb, and two peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger." When the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment, so they named him Esau. After this, his brother came out, with his hand grasping Esau's heel, so he was named Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave birth to them. The boys grew up, and Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of open country, while Jacob was a quiet man, staying among the tents. Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Once when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the open country, famished. He said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished." That is why he was also called Edom. Jacob replied, "First sell me your birthright." "Look, I'm about to die," Esau said. "What good is the birthright to me?" But Jacob said, "Swear to me first." So he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. He ate and drank and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright.
Our next reading is in Genesis chapter 27, starting in verse 1 through 20. Yamod, Helene bar Abraham la Torah. Come forward, Helene, daughter of Abraham, to the Torah.
Now it was when Isaac grew old and his eyes were too dim to see that he called Esau, his elder son, and said to him, "My son, here I am," he said to him. "Look, I'm old," he said. "I don't know the day of my death. So now please take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt me some game. Then prepare me a delicious meal that I love and bring it to me that I may eat, so that my soul may bless you before I die." Now Rebekah was listening when Isaac was speaking to Esau, his son. So while Esau went to the field to hunt game to bring in, Rebekah said to Jacob, her son, "Look, I heard your father speaking to your brother Esau, saying, 'Bring me some game and prepare me a delicious meal that I may eat and bless you in Adonai's presence before my death.' So now, my son, listen to my voice, to what I am commanding you. Go now to the flock and bring me 2 good young goats from there, so that I may prepare them as a delicious meal for your father, that he'll love. Then you'll bring it to your father to eat, so that he may bless you before his death." But Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, "Look, my brother Esau is a hairy man, but I'm a smooth man. Perhaps my father will touch me, and he'll take me for a mocker, and I'll bring upon myself a curse and not a blessing." Then his mother said to him, "Let your curse fall on me, my son. Just listen to me and go get them for me." So he went and got them and brought them into his mother, and his mother prepared a delicious meal that his father would love. Rebekah also took her elder son Esau's favorite clothes that were with her in the house, and she put them on her younger son Jacob, along with the skins of the young goats on his hands and on the hairless part of his neck. She put the delicious meal and the bread that she had prepared in the hand of Jacob her son. Then he came to his father and said, "My father?" And he said, "I'm here. Who are you, my son?" Then Jacob said to his father, "I'm your firstborn, Esau. I've done just what you said to me. Set up, please, and eat some of my wild game, so that your soul may bless me." Then Isaac said to his son, "How in the world were you able to find it so quickly, my son?" He said, "Because Adonai your God made it happen for me."
Yamod, Hannah bar Abraham la Torah. Come forward, Hannah, daughter of Abraham, to the Torah. We're reading letter sheet Genesis chapter 27, continuing in verse 21 through 40.
Isaac said to Jacob, "Please come close, and I may feel you, my son, whether you are really my son Esau or not." So Jacob came close to Isaac, his father, and he felt him and said, "The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau." He did not recognize him because his hands were hairy, like his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. And he said, "Are you really my son Esau?" And he said, "I am." So he said, "Bring it to me, and I will eat of my son's game, that I may bless you." And he brought it to him, and he ate. He also brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Isaac said to him, "Please come close and kiss me, my son." So he came close and kissed him. And when he smelled the smell of his garments, he blessed him and said, "See, the smell of my son. He's like the smell of the field, which is the Lord has blessed. Now may God give you the dew of heaven, and the fatness of the earth, and the abundance of grain, and new wine. May the people serve you, and the nations bow down to you. Be master of your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be those who curse you, and blessed be those who bless you." Now it came about, as soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob had hardly got out from the presence of Isaac, his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. Then he also made a savory food and brought it to his father. And he said to his father, "Let my father arise and eat of his son's game, and you may bless me." Isaac his father said to him, "Who are you?" And he said, "I am your son, your firstborn Esau." And then Isaac trembled violently and said, "Who was he that hunted game and brought it to me, so that I ate of all of it before you came and blessed him? Yes, he shall be blessed." When Esau heard the words of his father, he cried out with an exceedingly great and bitter cry, and went to his father and said to his father, "Bless me, even me also, O my father." And he said, "Your brother came deceitfully and taken away your blessing." Then he said, "It is not rightly named Jacob, for he has supplanted me by these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he has taken away my blessing." And he said, "Have you not reserved a blessing for me?" But Isaac replied to Esau, "Behold, I have made him your master, and all his relatives I have given to him as servants, and with the grain of the new wine I have sustained him. Now as for you, then you can, I do, my son." Esau said to his father, "Do you have a blessing, one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father." So Esau lifted his voice and wept. Then Isaac his father answered and said to him, "Behold, the way the fertility of the earth shall be your dwelling, and away from the dew of heaven from above. By your sword you shall live, and your brother you shall serve. But it shall come about when you become restless, that you will break this yoke from your neck." So,
So I'll stand as we bless the Lord after the reading of the Torah. Page 30 in the middle. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lan Torah emet v'kayolona tavotakenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha-Torah. Amen. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has given us a Torah of truth and has planted eternal life in our midst. Blessed are you, Lord, giver of the Torah. Amen. Let's remain standing as we bless the Lord before the reading of the HAFTARAH on page 31. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher barak rabim b'vim tovim v'ratzah v'rehem haneramin ba'emet. Baruch atah Adonai Aboker b'Torah u'Moshe abdo Israel, Amore, Amore, Ha'emet, Vazere. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who selected good prophets and was pleased with their words which were spoken truthfully. Blessed are you, Lord, who choose the Torah, your promoter Moshe, and your people Israel, and prophets of truth and righteousness. Yamod, Julie Bar Abraham Torah. Come forward, Julie, daughter of Abraham, to the HAFTARAH. Reading is 1 Samuel chapter 20, verses 24 and 34.
So David hid himself in the field, and when the new moon came, the king sat down to eat a meal. So the king sat on his seat, as usual, the seat by the wall. Jonathan stood up, and Abner sat down by Saul's side. But David's place was empty. Nevertheless, Saul said nothing that day, for he thought it must be an accident. He must be ceremonially unclean. Yes, that's it. He's unclean. Yet it came to pass on the following new moon, the second day, that David's place was still empty. So Saul asked his son Jonathan, "Why didn't Jesse's son come to the meal yesterday or today?" Jonathan answered Saul, "David earnestly asked to leave me to go to Bethlehem, as he said, 'Please let me go, for we are going to have a family feast in the town, and my brother has commanded me. So now if I have found favor in your eyes, let me go, pleased to see my brothers.' That's why he hasn't come to the king's table." Then Saul's rage blazed against Jonathan, and he said to him, "You son of a perverse, rebellious woman, don't I know that you have chosen the son of Jesse to your own shame and to the shame of your mother's nakedness? For as long as the son of Jesse lives on earth, neither you nor your kinship will be secure. Now send the word and bring him to me, for he is a son of death." But Jonathan answered his father Saul, "Why should he be put to death? What has he done?" Then Saul hurled his spear at him to strike him down. So Jonathan knew that his father was determined to put David to death. So Jonathan rose up from the table in fierce anger and did not eat food the second day of the new month. And he was grieved over David because of his father had dishonored him.
Let's stand as we bless the Lord after the reading of the HAFTARAH, page 32. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zer kol ha'olamim, v'alik mikol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer v'yoseh, ha'nebed v'kayim shekol devarav, emet v'zereh, ne'eman atah Adonai Eloheinu, v'nenamim v'devareka, v're'er akad ne'vareka, akor lo yeshuv rekam, ki el melech ne'eman, v'rakaman atah, Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'ne'eman b'kol devarav. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, Rock of all eternities, faithful in all generations, the trustworthy God, who says and does, who speaks and makes it come to pass, all of whose words are true and righteous. Faithful are you, Lord our God, and faithful are your words. For not one word of yours is turned back unfulfilled. For you are a faithful and compassionate God and King. Blessed are you, Lord, the God who is faithful in all his words. Let's bless the Lord before the reading of the apostolic writings. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has given us the apostolic writings. Amen. Yamot, Shirley Bar Abraham, Torah. Come forward, Shirley, daughter of Abraham, to the Torah. The reading is Matthew chapter 10, verses 24 through 39.
A disciple is not above his teacher, nor a slave above his master. It is enough for the disciple that he become like his teacher and slave like his master. If they have called the head of the house Beelzebul, how much more will they malign the members of his household? Therefore do not fear them, for there is nothing concealed that will not be revealed, or hidden that will not be known. When I tell you in the darkness, speak in the light, and what you hear whispered in your ear, proclaim upon the housetops. Do not fear those who kill the body, but are unable to kill the soul, but rather fear him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not two sparrows sold for a cent, and yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father? But the very hairs on your head are all numbered. So do not fear, you are more valuable than many sparrows. Therefore, everyone who confesses me before men, I will also confess him before my Father who is in heaven. But whoever denies me before men, I will also deny him before my Father who is in heaven. Do not think that I came to bring peace on the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I came to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's enemies will be the members of his household. He who loves the father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he who does not take his cross and follow after me is not worthy of me. He who has found his life will lose it, and he who has lost his life for my sake will find it.
Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has given us the apostolic writings. Amen. Amen.
We bow our hearts, we bend our knees. Spirit, come, make us humble. Instead of give us clean hands, we turn our eyes for evil things. Lord, we cast down our idols, so give us clean hands, give us pure hearts. Let us not lift our souls to another. Give us clean hands, give us pure hearts. Let us not lift our souls to another. We bow our hearts. We bow our hearts. We bend our knees. Spirit, come, make us humble. We turn our eyes from evil things. Lord, we cast down our idols. So give us clean hands, give us pure hearts. Let us not lift our souls to another. Give us clean hands, give us pure hearts. Let us not lift our souls to I don't know if you have a complete Jewish Bible or if you have a Tree of Life Bible or one that gives the normal Torah portion, the normal Haftarah portions after the Torah portion. You will notice we read a different one today, didn't we? And that's because it's Rosh Chodesh. And so it is tradition to read that story on Rosh Chodesh, because this is an example of how Israel celebrated Rosh Chodesh. They came together for meals. And the reading out of Matthew is a different than normal reading also. So as I was preparing this, as I was looking at this, as I started off the week at my usual place, which is TorahPortions.org, there is a website. You can go to TorahPortions.org and you can read. It will give you the Torah portions. They're the same ones we get our lists from. And I started reading. And then I got out my handy dandy little list and I went, this isn't Malachi. This list's on it. This other place. What's going on here, Lord? And it caught me by surprise, because I forget that when it's Rosh Chodesh, there are other readings substituted for the normal ones. And then I spent most of the week reading it, saying, Lord, what? Lord, what? Lord, what? Lord, what? Every morning I read all three passages. What is the connection? And finally, he woke me up at 5 o'clock this morning and said, right. So hopefully, I'm going to try to stick to the script, okay? We begin in the Parsha, in Toldot, in history, in the story of Yitzhak. And we have Yitzhak and Rebecca, Isaac and Rebecca. And they have come together. And as seems to be a normal thing in the ones who God has called, and has said, you are going to carry this lineage, you are going to birth this baby. There's no babies. There's no babies. Remember, Sarah didn't have a baby till she was, in her 90s, right? Okay. I'm sure Rivka heard that story more than once, because this is the guy she's married to. She didn't want to wait that long. The rabbis tell us that she prayed daily for a child. But our beginning of our reading today says, Yitzhak prayed for Rivka. When Isaac prayed for his wife, God gave her the children. But then the babies fought, even inside her. Talk about sibling rivalry. I know people with twins, and most of them, the twins are hugging each other all the time. The twins are connected, you know. But in this case, the twins were fighting from even before they were born. And Rebecca, prays. She goes and she asks of God, what is going on? How can I live through this? What is this? And God spoke to her. And God told her that she was not carrying 2 children. She was carrying 2 nations. And God is very clear in giving this to her. They will be rivals. One will be stronger, but the older will serve the younger. This is God's decree. Before birth, God chose one. For those of us who want to argue with God, go ahead, go argue that with him. Good luck. You won't get far. I believe honestly that God chooses because he knows us and he knows our characters. Even before we're born, he knows our characters. He knows the end from the beginning. And he knew what these boys would be like. Esau is born covered in red hair. That's what it says. He's covered in red hair, not just hair, but red hair. Fully covered. He's got a full head of hair, and it's also all over his body. And Yaakov comes out holding on to his heel. Don't leave without me, brother. I'm not staying here by myself. And it tells us that Yitzhak, Isaac, favored Esau. Rivka, Rebecca, favored Yaakov, or Jacob. But why? Esau was a hunter, a man's man, strong and brave. And Isaac, honestly, when you read the rest of the story about how he handled things, was not exactly a fighter. He wasn't a man's man. He made peace with everybody that argued with him. He just, well, your guys say that's there, well, okay, we'll move to a new place. We'll move to a new place. We'll move to a new place. But he saw in his son that man's man. And he liked game. He had a taste for it. He liked the wild animal flavor. An appetite. A fleshly desire was satisfied through Esau. But Yaakov, Jacob, he was quiet. He stayed in the tents. He was a man who stayed behind, and as we know, a man who is often quiet is usually a man who is thinking deeply. You know, there are those who almost never speak, but when they speak, you ought to listen. Because they're deep thinkers. They don't just rattle off. Isaac was quiet. He was a student. He was a scholar, according to the rabbis. A thinking man. Remember, Rivka had the prophecy. She knew Esau was stronger. She saw that strength. But she also knew that God had told her he would serve the younger brother. So she encouraged wisdom in the younger son. Wisdom. Wisdom. So Esau was a man of action and Yaakov a man of contemplation. Esau pleased his father because his father's appetite. But Esau's appetite was his own undoing. In chapter 25, verse 29, it tells us the story. He had gone out hunting. He had come back. He was hungry. Yaakov, his brother, had cooked some stew, and he wanted some, and he wanted some now. We know the story. The mighty hunter, the strong man, wasn't strong enough to wait a couple of hours to eat something. His appetite was his weakness. And he traded his birthright for a pot of beans because he was hungry now. The immediate, the urgent replaced the future. It replaced what was important in the long run. He despised his birthright. He cared more for what he wanted now than his position as the elder brother. We live in a generation of now, in a time of history where often the immediate desire definitely overrides our thoughts of any future. The urgent seems much too often to replace more important things and long-term goals. There was a book I read a long time ago called The Tyranny of the Urgent, where it talks about recognizing what is truly important. What's important is our relationship with God, not whether or not we got the dishes done today. The tyranny of the urgent, the things that we think have to be done right now, because it has to be done right now, because the phone's ringing right now, even if I am in the middle of prayer, but the phone's ringing, so I got to answer it, right? No, you don't. You don't. That's why they gave us answering machines. So leave a message if you call and I don't answer. Because sometimes the long-term goal is much more important than that urgent thing that is flashing its bright light at us right now, saying, pay attention to me now, pay attention to me now. We sell ourselves short way too often. And I believe, personally, this is the basis of many addictions. Not being able to say no to the temporary craving. Not being able to say no long enough for the desire to go away. Not being able to portion for ourselves what is good for us. But instead, going after the whole thing right now. I don't know about you, but sometimes I open a bag of chips, potato chips, and I have to watch it. Because I will sit there and eat the whole bag right now, even though dinner's in half an hour. If I've started, and I've had to learn to say no to the immediate, to portion, to set limits. Because you know what that is? That's a part of something God calls self-control. Self-control is a fruit of the Holy Spirit. It's a fruit of the Spirit. But it is also something we have to exercise and practice. In the story that we read for Rosh Chodesh, we see a whole other example of a loss of self-control. We have Saul, who is despising David right now. He sees God raising David up, and he hates him for it. He hates that he lost the blessing. Why did Saul lose the blessing? Because he was impatient. He did not wait for Samuel to come to do the offering. And because he didn't wait for Samuel and he was disobedient, he did not do the full job God had told him to do. He lost the right to the throne for not just himself, but for his son. But rather than accepting that, he gets mad. And he blames David. And his anger burns within him. Like Esau at the end of our Torah portion, who wanted to kill his brother because, guess what? Esau's birthright got stolen. Not just the birthright now, but the blessing too. And he's mad. He's mad. He sold his birthright. The blessing was not to have been his. There should have been a blessing for him, but not the primary one. But rather than recognize that, Esau gets mad at Jacob, just like Saul is angry with David. Saul is so angry with David when he sees his own son, his own beloved Jonathan protecting David, he throws a spear at him. He tries to kill his own son because his son protected the anointed one. God's plan for the kingdom of Israel brought division in Saul's household. Saul would not accept God's plan. Jonathan did. Jonathan did. He knew David was the next king. Jonathan did not hold it against David. He loved him and he honored him. In Matthew, the part we read, Yeshua tells his Talmudim to expect rejection, to expect division, to expect to be mistreated. He quotes Micah, the prophet, the one who tells us where Messiah is to be born. Micah speaks of the days when all the nations will come to Israel. All the nations will come to God's mountain. The Lord will judge and rule from Mount Zion. But in chapter 7 of Micah, he speaks of the days that are leading up to that. The days before the king takes over. And he says that there will be great wickedness. The godly will seem to have been destroyed. There will seem to be no one good. There will be fighting between friends and fighting between family members. And Yeshua tells his disciples, his Talmudim, they hate me, they will hate you. You see, sometimes the faith in God's decrees brings a sword and brings division. Today in our Hebrew class, we're going to be learning about the letter Zayin, which the picture of is a sword. A sword. We all love to sing about unity. We desire peace between brothers. So does God. So does God. But sometimes division must come. You know, we all want to fault Jacob and Rebekah at the end for the deception that they pulled at the end of the reading, right? I grew up being told that that was a mistake. They should never have done that, all of this stuff. And as I read the rabbis, what I find out is they don't see it that way. Most of the rabbis do not see it that way. They do not see Rebekah as being wrong. In fact, what they see is she is making something right in what she does. She knew God had chosen Yaakov, and she knew that Esau was a man who was given to his physical desires, a man who despised what could have been his place of leadership, a man who went out and took wives he should not have taken just because he saw them and he liked them. And she knew her husband. She knew he didn't see all of that. His sight was not just physically gone. He was lacking spiritual sight as well. He was even premature in announcing his own death, because it's a long time from this before he dies. He was feeling sorry for himself. But his spiritual and physical blindness was what Rebekah saw. Isaac was ready to give his blessing to his one son. But Isaac was short-sighted in that he only prepared a blessing for one. Did you catch that? He had not left room for a blessing for the brother. And that's what he tells Esau when Esau comes, when he finally gets there. What's left to bless you with? I gave it all to your brother. He had intended to give it all to Esau. Rebekah, in her wisdom, pulled a little trick there. But what she did was she acted to ensure that the man that God had chosen was the man who received the blessing. Did it cost her? Absolutely. It brought such division in her family for her to do that, to make sure he did the right thing. It brought such division that Jacob had to be sent away. Yaakov had to go away for his own protection. Sometimes when we choose to go for the promise of God, it will cause division for us as well. We have to all remember, we love God. We seek Him first. But here's the caution in all of this. Be sure the division that comes is not because you have attacked someone. In Matthew 10, verse 16, before he gives them all of this instruction, and he tells them that there are going to be those that hate you, there are going to be those that are going to persecute you, you're going to be called in, all of this stuff's going to happen. Don't fear the one that can kill your body, fear the one that can take your soul. But before that, in verse 16, it says, pay attention. I am sending you out like sheep among wolves. So be prudent as snakes and harmless as doves. Paul tells us in Romans that as much as it is possible with us, as much as it is our ability, we are to live in peace with all. That all was not just the brethren. It was all. He's the one that tells us to pray for our government structure. He's the one that says, pray for those in authority over you so that you may live in peace. Do you know who was in authority over him when he was writing that to the church in Rome? Nero. The one who put Christians on sticks in the middle of his gardens and lit them on fire for light. And Paul said, honor and pray for him. I'm like, whoa. The sword will come. But let it be the sword of the Spirit, not the sword of your tongue. That was the word he said. It cannot be the sword of our anger, our judgment. We cannot be like Esau. We cannot sell our birthrights to be comfortable and then angry when it gets taken away from us. We can't be like Saul, who acted impatiently and lost the throne and then hated David because he was raised up. We need to be like Jonathan, who saw God's blessing on David. And even though it meant he would not have the throne, yet he cheered David on. Rebekah saw, and she took action to make something right that was going wrong. Jonathan did too. You see, David hadn't gone to his father's, had he? He hadn't gone to Bethlehem. He was out in the field. That was one of those Rosh Chodeshes where there were 2 nights for Rosh Chodesh because of the way the days are listed and the days work. That was one of those times where there were 2 Rosh Chodeshes in the same month, one right after the other. He hid David. He lied to his father, didn't he? Sometimes we get hung up on what we think is right or wrong, that we forget and we lose track of what is important. That we sometimes don't realize there are weightier matters of the Torah. There are more important things. There are more important things. Am I telling you it's okay to tell a lie? No. I'm not telling you that. But if some woman comes in and says, oh, does this look really good? This looks good on me, don't you think? And you don't like it, what is the harm of saying, you're beautiful? You know, there's ways to speak it. We're to speak the truth, but we're to do it in love. And we're to do it in God's ways. Sometimes, to save a life, you have to make choices that are not easy. Sometimes, to take care of someone well and take care of someone right, we make choices that are not easy. Are there going to be disagreements? Absolutely. Is the sword coming to our nation? I believe it is. Where are we going to be? Are we going to be accepting what God has decreed, even if we don't like it? Or are we going to get mad like Esau? You see, the rabbis tell us that Esau had more choice than we realize. Esau could easily have risen above his physical desires and his appetite. Esau, the mighty hunter, could have made it into camp before he had that lentil stew. He could have looked at his brother and laughed and said, forget it, I'm going on. But there's this place where he didn't. He chose wrongly. And because he did, it cost him. Rather than say, okay, I made a bad choice there, it cost me there, okay, fine. I'm changing, I'm going to make right choices now, and you keep going, which is what we all have to do because we've all made bad choices, haven't we? I've made a bunch of bad choices in my life. Bunches. As many as any of the worst of you, you know. But what God says is, that was then, this is now, let's go on. We can choose to now put that stuff behind us. Esau could have chosen at that time. Isaac could have chosen a little differently. Isaac could have paid attention and saved a blessing for his other son. All that stuff could have been different. But it isn't. It isn't. Does that hurt God's cause? By your mistake, have you stopped God from doing what God is going to do? Nope, you're not that strong. You're not that powerful. You don't have that much influence. I've talked to people who take responsibility for things that aren't their responsibility. It amazes me how we think by making a bad choice we've cut God off and what he can do with us in the future. We're not that strong. We can choose at any time to say, okay, God, I want to walk after you now. I want those choices I made that were bad to be redeemed, Lord. Because Paul tells us that there is nothing that happens that God cannot use. There is nothing. Everything is designed to bring us closer to him. Everything is designed to help us draw closer to him, to make us more like him. So rather than rebel against it and turn away, let's submit to the hand of God. Let's do what God is asking us to do. Let's be grateful for those God raises up. Let's pay attention and recognize that when that sword comes, you do not have to react in kind. We are to stay harmless as doves. Harmless as doves. There's another place in the scriptures where Paul writes and tells them, let the one who is without work, don't steal, don't do this, don't do that. If there is going to be persecution, let it be for the right reasons. Let it be because they see Christ in you, not because they see something wrong in you. Accept the fact that God is more important than anyone, than anything, than any way. We seek after him. Don't let anything stop you. Don't let temporary cravings keep you from his word. Don't let temporary situations drive you to make choices that are permanent. Don't give in to the temptation of that animal nature. Because guess what? God is not going to let you starve to death. He's not. He will take care of us. He will take care of us. And he will lead us in the direction he wants us to go. And the day is coming that the sword that comes will no longer be the sword against us, but the sword of our Messiah coming to earth to bring righteousness, to establish justice. And I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to that day. And the more I see garbage happening around me, the more I see bad stuff happening, the more I see evil beginning to look like it's bigger and better and stronger, the more I say, Yeshua, your word said this would happen. You said it would happen. So Lord, I'm looking up. But while I'm looking up, I'm not going to stop doing what you've called me to do. I will still go. I will still do. that's my challenge for all of us today. That's what he showed me today. That's what he gave me. I'm like, I don't like this message. I want peace, joy, and happy. You know, what was that old thing? Happy, happy, joy, joy? You know, but there are times that we have to recognize eternity is calling us, and it's serious. There's a song I sang for the guys in the Hebrew class last week that I thought of ending with it. In fact, I think I will. And it's just a dumb little song in some ways, but it speaks truth. And it goes like this. Run if you want to, run if you will, but I've come here to stay. When I fall down, I'm gonna try to get up, 'cause I didn't start out to play. It's a battlefield, brother, not a recreation room. Fight, not a game. Run if you want to, run if you will, but I've come here to stay. And that's the reality. It's a fight room. Run the one inside. Run the one inside. And God will give us the strength we need. He will give us the deliverance. He will give us the joy. And He will give us the victory. And I'm looking for that. I don't know about you, but I'm looking for that. The day's coming that Jacob will come back home and he and Esau will settle accounts. And it won't be with a war. That day comes. We'll read about that next week. God is good. And He is going to take care of it. Father, I want to thank You for today. Thank You for Your word. Thank You for Your truth. And I ask that as we have heard it today, even in its rough state, because Lord, it's not as polished, but Lord, it is from You, and I know it is. That You do bring division sometimes. Because we are putting our faces after You. And as we set our faces after You, let us look to You, not look around us. That we may finish the fight well. That we may make it to what You have for us. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, the Lord and our Savior. Amen. Would you come?
We'll stand for the morning blessing. Yivarekka Yavava Ishmareka Yael Yahava Panavileka Vekuneka Isa Yahava Panavileka Vayasem Leka Shalom. Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, Sar Shalom. Lord bless you and keep you. Lord make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. Lord lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace. In the name of Yeshua the Messiah, the Prince of Peace. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Hey, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Hey! Shabbat Shalom, everyone.